Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome back to another exciting literature class. Today's class will be looking at a lovely prose text titled Wuthering Heights by Emile Bronte. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Behavioral objectives. At the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to understand the background of the novel, understand the background of the writer, and also give a plot summary of the novel. Now, background of the novelist, Emily Bronte. This is a picture of what Emily Bronte looks like during her time. She was born on July 30th, 1818 in Thornton, Yorkshire, England. Emily Bronte is best remembered for her 1847 novel Wuthering Heights, the novel we'll be analyzing in this class. She was not the only creative talent in her family. Her sisters, Charlotte and Anne, enjoyed some literary success as well. Her father had also published several works during his lifetime. So Emily Bronte is coming from a family of literary gurus, literature wonders, literature people who have loved the aspects of literature. They have written a lot of literary works. So it's no surprise that Emily Bronte is also a wonderful and prolific writer. So that's a brief background of the novelist Emily Bronte. Now, background of the novel. Emily Bronte wrote Wuthering Heights in 1847 in an isolated village called Harworth in Yorkshire. Wuthering Heights was written to describe a twisted and dark romance story. Thus, the author conveys the theme of one of life's absolute truths: love is pain. She wanted to show us using this book that love is indeed pain. Love can cause you extreme pain. You will not always be happy. That's what Emily Bronte was trying to show us in this story, Wuthering Heights. In addition, the mood of the book is melancholy and tumultuous. It is melancholy and tumultuous. Now, a plot summary. I'll give you a brief summary before we go into a detailed summary. Wuthering Heights focuses on a person, Heathcliff, who is a mysterious gypsy-like person. Heathcliff rises in the family who had adopted him, and then he was reduced to the status of a servant there. Further, he ran away from the young woman whom he loved very much and decided to marry another. Then, after he returns as rich and educated, he sets out to get his revenge on the two families that he believed ruined his life. So, we're going into the book summary proper. The book summary proper. Now, in Wuthering Heights, we have two families. We have the Earnshaws and we have the Lintons. We have the Earnshaws and the Lintons. And then the Earnshaws lived in the Wuthering Heights manor. They lived in the Wuthering Heights manor. While the Lintons lived in the Thrush Cross Grange. The Thrush Cross Grange. That's the name of their own manor. The Earnshaws had three children: Hindley, we have Catherine, and Heathcliff. Wuthering Heights opens. Now, we will list out all the characters. The Lintons had Isabella and Edgar. Isabella and Edgar. Now, Wuthering Heights opens with Lockwood. Lockwood is a tenant of Heathcliff's. He is visiting the home of his landlord. Lockwood is the new tenant at Thrush Cross Grange, as you can see at the bottom of the slide. Mr. Lockwood is the new tenant. So, a subsequent visit to Wuthering Heights yields an accident where Lockwood is almost attacked by the dog, and a curious supernatural encounter where he was told to spend the night in the Wuthering Heights manor. So while spending the night, he felt like he saw the ghost of Catherine Earnshaw. He felt like he saw the ghost of Catherine Earnshaw. And then he saw a book which had Catherine Earnshaw in it. So that's the supernatural encounter that Lockwood had in the Wuthering Heights manor. So it piqued his curiosity. So when he went back to his own manor, the Thrush Crush Grange, and recuperating from the illness caused by the stress of the supernatural encounter and the accident, Lockwood begs Nellie Dean. Now, Nellie Dean, the housekeeper, he begs Nellie Dean, a servant who grew up in Wuthering Heights and is now taking care of the Thrush Crush Grange, to tell him of the history of Heathcliff. He believes that Heathcliff is weird. So Nellie Dean should tell him the history of Heathcliff. So that's why we have the narrator as Nellie the housekeeper. Nellie now narrates the main plot line of Wuthering Heights. Everything that happened was narrated by Nellie Dean. Now, the story proper. Mr. Earnshaw, a Yorkshire farmer and owner of Wuthering Heights, brings home an orphan boy from Liverpool. The boy is named Heathcliff and is raised with the Earnshaw children, Hindley and Catherine. Catherine loves Heathcliff, but Hindley hates him. Hindley hates him because Heathcliff has replaced Hindley in Mr. Earnshaw's affection. Hindley is Mr. Earnshaw's original son, but because Heathcliff is such a good, hardworking, kind, humble boy, Mr. Earnshaw now likes him more than he likes his son. So that is where the hatred between Hindley and Heathcliff started. After Mr. Earnshaw's death, Hindley does what he can do to destroy Heathcliff. Before Mr. Earnshaw even died, Hindley was sent to a boarding school because he was always picking a fight with Heathcliff. And Mr. Earnshaw got so tired of witnessing the fight that he sent Hindley to a boarding school. And after that, Hindley stayed there for some years. So, Hindley does what he can do to destroy Heathcliff, but Catherine and Heathcliff grow up playing wildly on the moors, oblivious of anything or anyone else. Their Wuthering Heights manor is at the other side of the hill, so they don't even know if any other person exists. They only know themselves. So that's the close family relationship Catherine and Heathcliff had. That is a close relationship they had. Edgar and Isabel Linton live at the Thrush Crush Grange, the other side, and they are a complete opposite of Heathcliff and Catherine. They are a complete opposite. So one day, while Heathcliff and Catherine were coming back from the mall, or we can call it a little stall where they shop for things, the weather became harsh, and so they had to take refuge at the Lintons. The Lintons welcomed Catherine into their home, but they shun Heathcliff because they see him as different from them. Heathcliff is a gypsy, so they did not allow him into the house. He stayed outside. So treated as an outsider once again, Heathcliff begins to think about revenge. He's really sad. He is really sad because he feels they shouldn't be treating him like that. The Lintons believe that he is weird and he shouldn't be allowed into their home. Catherine at first splits her time between Heathcliff and Edgar because she's so interested in Edgar. She sees him as very mature, poised, touche, classy. So she's always trying to talk to Heathcliff to not make him look abandoned. She still likes him, but she found a different kind of liking. She developed a different kind of liking to Edgar. But soon she spends more time with Edgar, which makes Heathcliff jealous. When Heathcliff overhears Catherine tell Nellie, Catherine tell Nellie that she can never marry Heathcliff no matter what because he is a gypsy, he is different. That makes him heartbroken, and then he leaves Wuthering Heights. He leaves Wuthering Heights completely and is gone for 3 whole years. So while he is gone, Catherine continues to court and ends up marrying Edgar. Their happiness is short-lived because they are from 2 different worlds. 2 completely different worlds, and their relationship is further strained when Heathcliff returns after 3 years. Like, after 3 years, he returns. Relationships are complicated even more as Heathcliff winds up living with his enemy, Hindley. Hindley's son, Harrington. He lives with Hindley and Harrington at the Wuthering Heights Manor and marries Isabella, Edgar's sister. Can you see how complicated the relationship in this novel is Heathcliff marries Isabella, Catherine marries Edgar. Soon after Heathcliff's marriage, Catherine gives birth to Edgar's daughter, young Cathy, and eventually dies. Wow. She eventually dies. Heathcliff vows revenge and does not care who he hurts while executing it. So you see that Heathcliff must wait 17 years. He desires to gain control of Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange and to destroy everything that Edgar Linton holds there. He wants to get back at Edgar for marrying Catherine, for taking the love of his life away from him. So he tries everything humanly possible to ensure that he owns Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange. To own Wuthering Heights, he pays off Hindley's gambling debts. And in paying off that debt, he finally owns Wuthering Heights. And in order to own Thrushcross Grange, Heathcliff forces Cathy to marry his son Linton, his son with Isabella. He forces Cathy, that is Catherine and Edgar's daughter, to marry Linton. By the time he has control of the Wuthering Heights, and with Edgar's death, he has control of the Thrushcross Grange. So you see, he now owns both manors. He owns the two mansions. So through all of this, everything that was happening, Catherine's ghost kept on haunting Heathcliff. Catherine's ghost kept on haunting Heathcliff. And Heathcliff desires to be reunited with his soulmate, which he believes to be Catherine. And in the end of the novel, Heathcliff and Catherine are united in death. And Linton, who happened to be a sickler, eventually dies, leaving Catherine alone and a widow. And in the end, Harrington, that's Hindley's son, Hindley his stepbrother, Harrington and Cathy end up getting married. They end up getting married. That's what we can see in this part of the story, where we see 12 years later. 12 years later, we have a new set of Lintons and Earnshaws. A new set of Lintons and Earnshaws, where we have Harrington and Linton. The Lintons have two children, Harrington and Linton, and then the Earnshaws have Cathy, young Cathy. Now, we see that Linton and Cathy are friends, and their friendship leads to marriage. But Linton eventually dies because of his strange illness. And then at the end of the story, we see the love between Harrington and Cathy, the genuine love that finally leads to marriage. So you see the story. This is the story of Wuthering Heights by Emile Bronte, a tale of a complicated love that ended up leading, love and revenge, that ended up leading to pain, suffering, and finally a little bit of peace. So that's the story of Wuthering Heights by Emile Bronte. So let's do a little bit of evaluation. Did Heathcliff exert his revenge? How do you think he did that? From the story, how do you think Heathcliff exerted his revenge? So, we've come to the end of our lovely class where we analyzed Wuthering Heights by Emile Bronte. Wuthering Heights by Emile Bronte. So, in our next class, we'll be looking at the themes in Emile Bronte's Wuthering Heights. So, I will see you in our next class. Until then, it's bye for now.